Very good evening. I like the introduction, makes me feel very old immediately. She's got 27 years, you know. Okay. You guys are sitting in a very weird manner. Okay. No. I think I start singing like that. Okay, I've got my tendency, sorry. All habit dies hard. Okay, today I have 3 disclaimers before I start. Number 1, the sharing, this is not a real presentation of academic or intellectual standard. It's really my experience as a practitioner of what you guys are studying now, corporate advertising. So there's no right, there's no wrong, don't judge me, you have no right to judge me, this is my experience. Number 2, whatever I'm going to share with you this evening is basically based on my 20-odd years in this group called Formis Group. What happens before, after I've left Formis is not something I can be accountable for or can speak up on behalf of the company. And neither am I here to speak on apprentice syndrome because it's a totally different. Wow, my eyeball would look like that. Or can you sit in the middle somewhere? This side, okay. The feng shui say you face north, your luck very good. So you better sit here, you. The ladies on this side are these 2. You know why? Because if I keep turning this way, I get very giddy. All right, good. Thank you very much. Okay. What do I do? The title of my presentation says corporate advertising, and I can't find the keyboard to change the. Yeah, I will click. Yeah. If I sit, do I look rude? No lah, huh? Okay. Let's make it informal. I know you guys who are those who are working and studying part-time, you should look tired after a hard day's work, which means you should have had a hard day's work. And those who are here looking fresh, I suppose you're students, so bear with me for the next 1 hour or so. I'll sit for a while. If it gets excited, I get up again. Okay. So my title, I'll bore you with some big terminology which actually actually drill down is very simple things in life. I've surfed the net a few thousand times and find many schools of thought of what corporate advertising should be or entails. And consistently, I see this these 3 elements or 3 elements that comprises the scope of any corporate advertising. They tell me corporate advertising should embed your corporate vision, should have core values, should have organizational culture. I can immediately see the boredom in your face because I can take just the word corporate and spend 2 hours, just the word vision and spend another 2 hours, and just the word core and spend another 2 hours, just the word values 2 hours, and so on and so forth. So this is not my intention tonight here. You can check any schools of thought on what corporate ad is all about, but in essence, these are what it should have. All right, and there are always goals to life. When you have a goal, when you have a job to do, a project to perform, please ask for objective and goals. So in any corporate advertising, there should be a goal. There should be some goals. In this aspect, there are 3 consistent goals again. You want to build an image of a responsible corporate entity. You want to attract good talent to work for you, and you want to reinforce the corporate mission. Very boring stuff. So the real core of my sharing this evening is simply, yes, what is it? What is corporate advertising? To speak English in the way English should be spoken is actually advertising your company. No need to think so profoundly. It's just advertising your company. And like it or not, it's also paid publicity. Sometimes you think you've been taught PR, publicity is some unpaid, blah, 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 blah. But like it or not, life, nothing is free. The fact that you donate, you sponsor, you take some blind man across, and you got some publicity is also paid for. All right? So if you can agree on this simple trend of thought that corporate advertising is in essence advertising a company, I'm going to give you 6 good examples. Typical, you panic, your boss come, hey, hello, tomorrow my son's school got this souvenir program for sports day. I took out $500, I put an ad, give me ad space, give me an ad. You panic. The night before, you do with compliments from whatever your company name is, and that's your corporate ad. Alright? Panic, I did that before in my lifetime. These are some examples of some ad we had in Formis Group. One of the companies actually sells AV, which is post-editing work for some movies, and also another way of doing it is you advertise the distributorship, it becomes a corporate ad. There's another example. This looks a bit more hard work put in, people shaking hands, some story what you do as a publicity company. Same here, another example. Formis automation for the heart. But I like this best. This one, if possible, they put your mother's photograph, the direction road to your location to your house. This is a typical ad which you should all avoid. If it's a product ad, keep it a product ad. If it's corporate ad, keep corporate ad. Don't do 2 things in one stroke as much as your boss would like that to happen. Is this irritatingly loud or good volume? Be careful, I can get very loud. Okay, tell me if it gets too loud. All right. This is a bit of class there. We put elements of corporate culture, Malay Chinese girls working in a PC, looking happy, and some elements of honeycomb to show IT, you know. So we grew and we matured along the way. So is that it? Can we go home? Corporate advertisement, examples? No, you didn't come all this way for this short talk. Okay, I'm a mother of two. My son is 19 and 21, and they both left the country because I nag a lot. So I'm going to nag at you tonight until you understand what I'm going to say. Remember I told you, advertising, corporate ad is simply advertising your company, paid publicity. So what is your company? So the first thing is advertising your company. You must understand who you are, what you do. If you don't know, then forget about the other elements inside there. Okay, this is where the philosophy of life comes in. Simple philosophy of life. Can I just have a raise of hand? How many of you here above 50 years old? Wow, no one. Hamisa? No. Okay, that gives me the grandma here. All right. So corporate identity, as much as it is, sound very, very intelligent, very deep. It can be very deep if you really dwell into it. What's identity? What's corporate again? But broadly speaking, this is my favorite. Everything has a personality. Every entity, which means an identity. First thing you're born, what do you have? A birth cert. As you grow older, 12 years old, you get an IC. You get a driving license, a marriage cert, a death cert, and at the end of the day, a death cert. Okay, you have something that identifies you, like it or not. For example, even this flower, it's called a bouquet. You can call a bunch of flowers, we call a rose. It's got identity. Whether or not it's alive, it's fresh or not, it's another story. Which brings me to the next point. An outside view. This flower by itself, it know it's a flower, but you see outside, you say, hey, bunga palsu ke, bunga rose ke, bunga orange ke. So there's a different image, different take from whoever the audience is. Same thing with life. My name is Jenny Ong, as you know. I was introduced by Yibling. You never met me in your life before. You just know me as 27 years old, worked 27 years of experience in the group called Formis, and I have got experience and some credentials in this area of work. That's all you know. And I come from Baju Kurung, so you may think I'm a Malay girl if you didn't see me before. So again, what I am by myself, in my own right, may not be seen by you all accurately. But most important, which is this, when an image is given a consistent visual or verbal mention or association, it becomes a branding. So always remember these three things, because throughout the slides will be identity, image, branding. First thing first, you have an identity, which means you have what it is that makes you. Number two is image. There's something you cannot control. You can influence but can't control. You can be the best person in the world, but people think you're a rascal. Alright? And the last thing, but if you keep behaving like a rascal, you give yourself verbal and visual branding, you probably end up rascal as well. Alright? Okay. Let's see my heading, identity, image, branding. It'll be there for the next 3 slides. What do you mean by corporate identity is what the company is what I've been telling you for the past 5 minutes. So you cannot tell people what you are not. Alright? A company's identity shapes its image. You cannot be a $2 company and try to make a multi-dollar company. People try. This is called con job. They try, okay? Big words, image is synonymous with perception. Perception reflects reality. What I'm trying to say is sometimes what you see isn't what it is. At the same time, like it or not, you have to have a basic component before you can even project any image. If you are nothing, no matter what you do, don't waste your time, don't waste your boss time. You can't go very far in the career by pulling something over people's eyes all the time. And lastly, oh, I think I missed a slide there with, never mind. Identity, image, branding. Now let me show you what happened in Formis during my 27 years, wow, 23 years there, and how we got around to doing a corporate identity, corporate advertising. Bear in mind, nobody sits down and says, today I will organize my thoughts and create a corporate identity for the company. It doesn't happen that way. How many of you have in your area of work to deal with corporate advertisement? You have to create a corporate ad before in your work experience. Show of hand if you don't mind. Nobody has to make corporate ad. That can bluff lah. Okay. Okay. Now, Formis. Let me introduce you to Formis. This is called Introduction to Formis Group. Many logos because there are 13 companies in the group. Okay. This is important. This may not interest you because it's not your company. It's not something that you like as well. It's not like Kentucky or what is Formis. It's IT. It's very boring. But what I want you to consistently think of is identity, image, and branding. So I'm going to the first phase of everything, which is the identity part. Formis has got names, Formis Group. These are 13 companies. This one, you cannot read, never mind, it's meant to be like that. What I'm trying to show is that there is a timeline, there are milestones. All right, from 1983 to 2006. 2006 was the drama age, because drama time, because that was when the takeover took place and the corporate identity also began to change. So, with all the information we just have, the graph and the logo, what I could derive and I set up with management was that, hey look, there are some points we can work on. We've been there for 27 years. We've been through 4 ownerships, where buy us, take us back, buy us, you know, and we've always been IT. There are 13 companies inside and outside Malaysia. We have over 600 customers, 120 business partners, and this on the main board of the Busan Malaysia. So what you do is, in your area of work, if you ever have to sit down with people or yourself directly involved in creating, has a history. Every company has a history as well. So facts are like that, and these are the identity traits. 27 years means, wow, not fly by night, not here today, gone tomorrow. You've been there for 27 years. People actually grew up with you, so you are a reliable company. You've always in tech business. It could mean it could mean if you got nasty friends outside, when you're always for an IT business, they think you can't do anything else better or nothing else better to do. But you should play it up and say that you're focused in your business. And 13 companies in the group means what? You're growing group, not one customer for the last 27 years. Over 600 customers means you got customer satisfaction. 120 business partners is very important in IT. The more business partners you have, because to be business partner, you must be able to have a number of technical people and some experiences. You can sit anywhere, they're all same price, you know. so not the whole world, you're late, can't someone. Okay. All right. Listed on the main board, which means you're a PLC. Again, this is something, it speaks for itself. I don't mind this page happened. Okay, so what's next? You know your company, you know the history, you know the strength, the weaknesses as well already. Next thing you do, you understand the traits and you play up the positive. Play down the inherited and non-contributing traits. A lot of people will rather see the bad and the good side of the company. Same in life actually sometimes. And correct the mistaken identity. Create a new image. Develop the branding element. So, again, the nagging in me, identity is important. It's a first step of any corporate advertisement project. Doesn't matter whether it's print ad, hard copy ad, banner ad, even PowerPoints. These are all modes of corporate advertising. Most importantly, know who you are, establish a fact, and make a stand. This is where you need your management approval and consensus. So when you have an identity, next thing is image. So what if you're in your own little world, you know who you are, you're so happy, so proud. That doesn't mean the whole world thinks the same of you. So that's where you come in. You have to make sure that you have an identity that matches so you have an image that matches your identity. So, storyline again, 27-year-old strong. Local technology group. Listed on Busan, Malaysia. With a growing list of reputable customers and business partners. So that's the descriptive way of having an image, but that's not great. You have to have more than just a descriptive manner of descriptive image. So the next thing, issues. You have issues of, I had the issues of history of different ownership. It could mean that, wow, you all, either people love you so much, keep buying you up and investing and selling you off again, or it's just a trading vehicle. Technology, .com, PC, SI, semi. We do so many things that you get confused. People will think, oh, PC, you sell PC? No, we don't sell PC. We actually have mainframes for Busa, for Bank Negara, and the rest. And within the 13 companies, there's also competition and synergies, as well as, with business partners. Some business partners say if you carry Cisco, you can't carry Zilog. If you carry IBM, you can't carry Sun Ecosystem or IBM. So there are also problems with business partners as well as internal companies, competitive level. So again, my headache was so many logos. For me, it's 13 logos. So what do we do next? Identity, who you are. 2, image. Next is branding. I know who I am. I want to be called a 27-year-old local IT company focused in with local branches all over the place. All right. So what do I do next? I develop a branding element that conveys simply three things. Sometimes our bosses or either your bosses or customer they really don't have time for you to go through the whole grandfather story about how branding should be achieved and how important branding elements are. Just tell them simply, this is what we are, this is what we want to be known as, and these are three important points. First, consistently, we're not selling sugarcane, we're not selling paper, we're selling technology only. Okay, we are a group of companies and we have regional presence. So once you get that simple, you break down a lot of facts into three simple or one or two simple statements and sentences or commitment, then you get your bosses to commit to it. So we developed this promise.net. It took us about 6 months. All right, we figured out with the agency. We said, my boss actually sat down on a PC and do himself. And finally, also I want Promise.net. We asked him, what does it mean? Promise, fine, is the old name. And .net, dot means technology, net means international. So that was the way it was standard. So is it done? We pat ourselves on the shoulder and go home. Unfortunately, it's not the way it is. Even though we have established our identity traits, even though we have transformed that traits into an image, even though we have found a suitable visual element to associate that branding as a branding, that's not it. The next most important thing is, so what if you and your management committee, your board likes the idea, if your own staff don't understand what's going on, it's going to be a battle uphill. So you convince your bosses, or the bosses has convinced themselves, and this is what they want to do. What's the next step? Buy in. The process was pretty simple. First, we gather all the head of companies together, head of departments together, introduce and explain the branding. Like I told you, Promise is a long name, dot means technology, net means international. Some GM can be deggy, they say, the blue looks Bodo, can be the F in capital or style. Everybody tries to be a creative director when given a visual element. Trust me, you give any design out, they tell you, no, the color should be different. You will have that problem, but don't worry, always do this, next step. Tell them, boss, macam, then they follow. Okay? So you cannot convince, cannot just tell them there's management decision and they have to follow. Because creative thing, there's never right, never wrong. It's just something, you have to live with. It's like our name, you think my name sounds stupid, but my mom thinks it's wonderful, so leave me be, okay? Then, once you sit them down like this and say, I've got this wonderful thing called Promise.net, you got some people smoking, doesn't matter. When they know they have no choice but use it, make sure it's used consistently. Very important. Don't suka-suka, they use, they don't like it, they don't use. Enforce it consistently down the line. Make sure it's repeated as and wherever possible, whether it could be a banner, bunting, could be a desktop item, whatever. Make sure it's used repetitively. So that's easy. You can control the people inside you called internal audience. But what about the people outside? You can't force everybody down the road to understand what's going on. In fact, you may not want all of them to know what's going on. You need your target audience to know what's going on. As always in life, make sure you have a target before you can do what you want to do. You must have a target to say target a group of people before you can draft or construct craft the message. So my audience then was the customer, of course, my business partner, which is very important to me. Without business partner, I can't sell to many people. Of course, like it or not, you have to be conscious of competitors. You may not like them, they may not like you, but they are there, so it's good to know what they're doing. And of course, the public at large. So, these are some channels of communication. Actually, I have some more stuff, but didn't quite come out. Never mind. Some annual report. We use annual report covers, directional sign, below the line, group events, markup activities. Essentially, wherever possible, put the Promise.net there. Now you have done your soul searching. You found out who you are. You have given yourself image, and you have created this visual and verbal element called branding. So you have found out. You have told your internal fellows what to do. This is how we call ourselves. We are called Promise.net or whatever company you work in. You have touched the external audience. Again, you think that's it, but no, sometimes, not sometimes, always you are expected to have an evaluation of your work to understand whether it's successful or not. It may not be quantifiable in actual numbers, but there's been effort there. And the trick of the trade from my many years of working is always manage your boss's expectation. If you don't even put this slide up to say, I need to, boss, this is my plan, but there's an element that we need to have, we call that KPI, Key Performance Index, to see whether what we're doing is correct or not. Don't worry, if it fails, just say we didn't do it correctly and then improve yourself. But if you go around without this portion of your project, it's going to fail very badly. So the truth hurts. How do you evaluate? Who do we benchmark? This way get clever. Don't go and benchmark against the IBM because you're just formist, you're not IBM. If I can, anybody from IT here at all? IT company? You don't work. So, let me see, let me give an example. Banks now. Banks are quite boring, banks are quite homogeneous throughout. What I'm trying to say is, always benchmark yourself correctly. What are objectives? So, in order for your boss or yourself to say that we think we've done a good job, or otherwise, is what are your objectives? And who are your target audience? Okay? So the benchmark. Apples with apples. Competitors, the industry. Apple, EBMC, Cisco, Dell. Alright. What I'm trying to say here is, on this side, this is all the local PLCs are. Be clever, benchmark yourself, because Formis was then a PLC in the IT industry. So we benchmark ourselves against all these companies, and not against Apple, the BMC, the Cisco, the Dell, the Intel. You do that, you're going to be wiped off immediately. So when you benchmark yourself against someone similar to you, then you say, hey, high-tech powder don't have much advertising like we have. The recall is not so good, you can always do something like that. Sorry, Microsoft, Oracle. Objective. So the whole idea of having corporate advertising, whether it's hard copy, soft copy, whatever version or channels of communication, the objective is always to reinforce our presence and what we stand for, to create new eyeballs. So you have got your identity done, you have got your image sorted out, you give yourself something visual to look at that can be related to, then you have got your buying in internal, you got your external, you've got your evaluation. Now, the target audience. Tell the boss, don't be afraid. All the staff, end of the day, should know, understand, apply the corporate advertising strategy. Customers, what is the message you want to drive back? Know, understand, and recall. There is need to be different as well. But for me, we are a PLC, so I have to have, that's why the Formis.net was my corporate branding element for the entire group. They can still have all these logos. I didn't change, you know. They still have all these logos running around doing their business, different business partners, different customers and all. But when it comes to going out as a group, it's Formis.net. Mind you, in case I have not made it clear, Formis.net is not a company's logo, it's a branding element for the group, which corporate identity and corporate advertising comes in.